welcome to Simply Being. I'm your host, Fiorda, and I'm here with Kendra Videckis, one of my best friends, and we're about to have a bomb-ass conversation. You're about to meet her.
Hey guys.
She's amazing in a lot of ways, but right now she is in LA. She's a producer out there, and one of my favorite songs she has out is Out of My Mind, so you should check that out, and then I'll let her talk about some of her other music. But that's just a song that I had recently met her when it came out, and I was just like in awe, to be honest. I was like, how the hell do I know this girl? Like, this is fucking
Oh my
awesome.
God. Right when I met you, I swear, I remember we were in biochemistry. It was like second weekend of school or something. And I just ran inside and I was like, oh my God, I got this Trap Nation placement. Like, it was just so awesome. And then it came out. And like, since then, you've just been like my day one, always such a supporter. And it's great.
Well, I just remember meeting you and like just expecting, like, you're beautiful and you were in my biochem class with me, and a lot of times, like, if I would try to conversate, that was something that always came up, like, are you in a sorority, are you a part of Greek life, are you doing that, and I remember, like, I feel like even though other people would ask me that, I think that's what I asked you at first, because I just like wanted to have it out on the table. I'm like, so are you in a sorority, like, what is it? And you're like, oh, I actually was just out in California with my sister doing my own thing. I got into music, and that's how we started talking, because I'm like, what? Do you want to just like share a little bit about like what got you into music and what kind of brought you here today?
Yeah, definitely. I was, like you said, I was in a sorority. It wasn't really for me. And I just wanted to, take some time off of school. And I decided to just go to California. I just drove across the country. And I moved in with my sister and her girlfriend at the time. And we just, I was living out there, and sometimes she would let me borrow her laptop because I didn't have like GarageBand installed on mine. And I would just mess around with it and stuff. And it was cool. And all of a sudden one day I got a call that my dad passed away. And so I think that when that happened, I like totally just like dove into something that I was already gaining more interest in. And I was doing a lot of, soul searching, and I was working at Nobu, and I just had all this stuff going on. So when my dad died, I just wanted something to, make everything stop. And it does. And it's like meditation. It's a form of, releasing your feelings and ideas to the world in a way that's nonverbal, and people can just connect with it. And that's basically just what I try to do. But then I went back to school and I met you. And you, I swear, Fiorda, you are one of the most awesome people. I remember the day I met you. You two were so gorgeous. You were so sweet. And I just remember being so nervous too to come back to school, because when you take time off, people are like, oh, what, she take time off, it's weird. And I just felt like uncomfortable, I guess, coming back. And you were just so nice to me. And you know what I mean? You don't meet a lot of people like that, because like with sororities, everyone already, has their friends. And it's just like you said, it's constantly a question that people are asking. Even me, it's like, oh, are you in a sorority? Are you in a fraternity? And so it was hard, and I was like scared at first, initially find a group of people to, like, become friends with. But then I did, and it was super, super easy. But I think it's only because I like went out to California and I found myself. But I had trouble before, and I kind of got like mixed into the wrong crowd because I didn't find myself then, and I was just looking for something to, like be a part of, because it's our human instinct. We just want to be like a part of something.
I'm so glad you came back. But dude, it's just like what really connected me with you was, like you said, you went out there, you did your own thing, like figured out what you actually want to do, and then you came back and you're like, I'm finishing school, but then in the back of your mind you had this other dream, and this bigger dream, in my opinion, than just to follow the rest of the crowd. And that's something that I always wanted was, even though I was going to school to be a doctor, like I didn't want to do the typical, like, you finish residency, you have 5 jobs lined up that are going to pay you $300,000 at least, and like you're going to start paying off your loans at that point, and blah blah blah. Like I always had this idea of like, I want to create group of believers in a way, and like people who want to better themselves before I even finish school. Like I want a community before I even can, you know, prescribe them whatever it is that they need. Like I want it to be a bigger thing. And everyone always told me, you know, what, like you plan to quote unquote make money before you even finish college or finish grad school. And I'm like, honestly, like I kind of think that's possible. But then like I would talk to anybody else and it was not, you know, it was just feeling like it was impossible. But then when I would talk to you, you have these huge dreams that I'm sure a lot of people don't understand and are like, are you kidding me? So we could relate because we're like constantly building each other up, like, yeah, you'll get there, you know. So
I guess like one of the biggest things that I think is important for people to thrive on is just other people's doubt. Because if you know your self-worth and you know your potential and you know what you can achieve, other people doubting you, you know what I mean, is the best thing, because it just makes you want to go and prove them wrong. You know, like when I came home with a DJ board, you know, and I was like, I'm going to be a DJ, I'm going to be a music producer. Like I knew I was going to, but everyone was like, oh, like, okay, you know, that's weird, but I just kept at it. And like with you too, you know, I just remember like with school, and I remember you saying that you wanted to start a podcast. And I'm like, heck yeah, do it. Like, why not start the podcast? Because honestly, it's awesome to do new things. Like, you don't need to just do one thing. It's cool to like be a doctor and also do a podcast. Why do you have to do just one?
exactly. And like one can help you with the other, like the struggles that I'm going through even now, like with figuring out stuff with this podcast and like being able to come up with ideas and like even just talking about things that I've never thought I could talk about because like they make me feel so uncomfortable even thinking back to. But like that's the stuff that is helping heal me, so that later on when I'm telling a patient to figure themselves out, I can actually give advice and not just be like, oh well, just look it up and figure it out. You know, I want to have those experiences to kind of help others do the same. But I don't know, I feel like, you know, obviously it's to each their own, but I think it's important. Like that's why I wanted to have you on here, because I want people to see that it doesn't just start with like you were born with a gift and now you're a music producer. Like it
Oh,
not-
yeah. It's like it's so much more complicated than that. You're not just like born. I think everyone's born to do anything. You know, you just have to maximize the potential. You need to create opportunity. You need to be all in. And
yeah.
if you do and you just like keep at it, eventually people are going to be like, oh yeah, that's Fiorda. She has Simply Being and she's also a doctor. You know what I mean? Like it's going to catch on. Like you just have to be persistent and be patient.
That's so exciting. Like just hearing you say like, like it makes such a difference who you surround yourself with, because like even you saying two little things of like, oh, like that's Fiorda, and like it's just giving me so much confidence and like motivation. And a lot of times, you know, the people we surround ourselves with, I've even seen friends like they have this joking mentality of like making fun of each other or saying like, oh, you're a loser, like blah blah blah. And it's, even if it's a joke, I feel like it's important to kind of step back and be like, yo, you know, these words are sticking with the people that I'm saying them to, and it's important to say words that, you know, are going to motivate them and make them better, as opposed to the opposite, honestly.
Definitely. I think like vocabulary and the vocabulary that we use with other people is super important, because I learned too, even working in music, you know, you talk to vocalists or other people that you're working with, and they can kind of get offended, you know what I mean, if you say the wrong thing, because like we're all like producing art, you
Yeah.
know, so you gotta be careful with the vocabulary that you use like in any situation. So it's just important to make sure it's like empowering, and you know, we lift each other up and it's not all negative. So just like raise the vibes, keep
For
them high.
sure. So, okay, I mentioned Out of My Mind, and that's a song that like literally I play almost every day. I love it so much. It makes me feel so good, like just even just knowing you, so I know like what you were going through and stuff, and like producing that song, but also it sounds fucking good. What kind of led you to that? Because I know that was like you said it was like
Yeah,
a point where you kind of were like, holy fuck, like this is me, you know? Like this is happening kind of.
it's nuts. No, it's really really cool. I feel like with that song, it's just one of those songs where, you know, I came home. No, I think it's one of those times where I came home after, being on a semester break, and I was like right before going back to college. And I decided that like I was just gonna make a beat one day, and I was gonna delete it actually. I just thought it was weird, because it was different. It was like not.
That is different.
I don't know. I was just like, is this strange? Like, I think this like might be kind of strange. And I was gonna just scratch it. And my little sister was walking by the door, and I'm like, hey Teresa, will you come here? Will you listen to this? And she was like, this is good. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So then I saved it, but I swear I was just about to delete it completely. I don't know why, but yeah, so she totally saved the day. And then I met Al on some website, the vocalist, and she connected me with Convex, and then we just turned it into a collab. And it was really sick. Convex and Al, they're really, really talented and really great people. So I had a really great time working with them, and it was such a pleasure to be on, Trap Nation as well. I used to listen to that channel all the time when I was a kid, especially when I was like getting into EDM music. So to see my name on there now is just, really cool. But it also turns into something where it's just like, okay, like you accomplished that goal. Like, so what's the next one? And so it's just constantly like an uphill, battle until it's not anymore. But we're gonna keep going, keep on going.
Sure. Oh my god, I can't wait to be front row at one of your shows coming up here soon. I just know that you're gonna make it places like you already have. You're already doing things that a lot of people are afraid to do. A lot of people are afraid to not get a regular ass job after college.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really, really excited too about just new upcoming releases that I have. I just feel like over the past year, my life has kind of been consumed with family related matters. My mom was going through some health issues with cancer, but she, won. But I was there and I was helping her for a while. So it definitely, took time away from what I wanted to do. But it also allowed me to like kind of focus on what matters and come back with, a fresh mind, fresh ears, and essentially finish all my old projects. I have so many old projects, and I'm gonna be releasing actually my next one on September 18th. So that is not next Friday, but the Friday after. Yeah.
No.
It's called Right All Along. It's really cool. It's like trappy. I like was thinking of Allison Wonderland and Quicks when I made
Perfect. My favorite.
it.
Oh God, remember when we went to that Allison Wonderland concert?
I do. That was so much fun. I remember I remember that I lasted for like about 30 minutes of it, and then I woke up like the next day. I just woke up and it was
Dude, we just hadn't hung out in a long time, so we were celebrating. But
definitely.
it was great. God, so many
It
good.
was the music, man. It was the music, I swear. Sometimes when it gets that intense, you just can't take it. She like literally fucked me up on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I don't even know what level. She got me.
So crazy. But dude, so what was the other song that you did for the Pride? That was for your sister.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to shout it out.
I made a Pride song. It's literally called Pride. And it's really just a song that's for the LGBT community. I made it with High Key, Julia Ross and Christy Youngs, and those two were the singers on it. I love those girls. They're so talented and just really amazing people. And they always help me with projects that I need to get done. And they really just nailed it. And really what the message was just to like empower the community. You know what I mean? I just wanted to make a song that had a powerful meaning and a powerful message. And my sister really, really loved it and just asked me if I would make it into a Pride song. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So it was a lot of fun. And her girlfriend actually helped me a lot with the songwriting, Liana White. Yes.
That's awesome. It's just so crazy. Like music just gets people to understand each other better, and it just brings us together a lot. Like that's what I love most about it, and dancing and just like all of that combined with the EDM community in general is just beautiful. How it can like make you feel so good. What is it that like what's in your daily routine would you say that kind of pushes you to keep going? Because I know like even with something as small, I guess, is my little project that I've started because it's still fresh, brand new, simply being. Even now, like there's some days where I get in ruts where I'm like, honestly, like I'm trying so hard and like putting so much effort into something that like, you know, if not enough people appreciate, it's not going to turn into anything. So like, what is it that really kind of pushes you forward? Because you've been going at it.
All it comes down to is the story that you tell yourself about yourself, which ultimately determines how you're gonna think and the decisions that you're gonna make every single day. I think it's important to make sure that you take care of yourself first before your job, and once you do that, you'll be able to just bring so much abundance into your life. And you really just need to take care of yourself first, and that's the first thing that I do every single morning. When I wake up, I go we made an at-home gym for COVID, so I go and I run at least like 2 miles while listening to and critiquing and writing notes on my phone whatever track I made the previous day or something. And then I like stretch, shower, and then I just go and I get at it in the morning. I'm like such a morning person. And then let's say I get up at like 6 a.m., sometimes 5 a.m., get all that done. And then like all my work is done by like noon or like 11. And so it's awesome. And then like I have all day to just, enjoy myself and like make new things. And like it's just like a process that keeps going. And then like obviously you have to make time for family and whatnot. But if you're just resourceful and you find ways, like work on the go, or like, even just like bouncing out a track that you made and like listening to it while you're running is working. It's making progress. And I think you can evaluate progress by looking at yourself a year ago and seeing if are you still in the same place that you were at? Have you done anything to like make yourself and what you're trying to do better? And if you have, then of course you're making progress. You just need to, keep going and change directions. And, one destination doesn't always have like the same route. You can just take multiple routes. And even if you go the wrong way, you can still turn around and, figure it out. It'll be fine. Just keep going. Because if you're stagnant, then nothing's going to happen. You just need to like seek opportunity, be bold, just be bold. Sometimes like I feel like people are afraid to do things. They just, they won't, reach out to someone, because they see a verified check mark on Instagram, and they're like intimidated. But people are responsive, and I don't think we are resourceful enough. Like just slide in the DMs and ask someone like a question, they might just reply.
I know. It's just crazy how much social media can do. And I feel like a lot of us are too busy creeping on people on Instagram and like just like drooling on their pictures instead of connecting, instead of reaching out. Because like a lot of people are willing to work together. It's just like stop using social media as a distraction and use it to your advantage, and like actually put your efforts towards something that's gonna help you. But also I was gonna say, I think that when do you go to bed at night? Like around?
It depends. Like before COVID, I would say I used to like go to bed probably around like midnight or 1 a.m. It really kind of depended. But now I like go to bed earlier and wake up really early because I was awake. So it like totally allows for me to just like hone in on what I'm doing and what I want to do, and have literally no distractions because everyone in the world is asleep. So I can't even get a phone call.
No, I think that the reason I ask is because for me, a lot of times, like I'll stay up late and be like, oh yeah, the whole world is asleep, all that jazz, and feel good. But I really do think the way to go is to wake up early and go to bed early the night before, because I think that way, like you said, you get ahead of the game as opposed to like trying to catch up at night. What it feels like when you stay up really late and the world is sleeping, it's kind of like, I didn't get what I needed to done throughout the day, so now I'm catching up. But if you wake up early, you're literally getting a head start. So I think that's like better.
Honestly, I like going in my notes and like making to-do lists for the next morning. So right before I go to bed, so it like gives me a peace of mind right before I, close my eyes and try to go to sleep. And I wake up and just knowing that I like have everything that I need to get done, it almost feels like it's done.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to do that. I don't know. I think everyone has their own ways of adapting and
For sure.
just working. And some people can't wake up, at like 4 in the morning if they want to. I mean, it's totally fine to stay up late. My sister is like, why the heck do you wake up so early? And I'm just like, I don't know. It's the only time I have to be alone. So,
No, it's
yeah,
a
but ultimately, I think it's preference.
for sure.
Some nights I stay up all night long and, I'm just like making some stuff and having a good time. But I think it depends on whether I'm creating or if I'm like working, because like once the creative part's done where you're like just working, it's not like fun. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not fun. It's just not like, creative. You're trying to get a task accomplished.
Yeah.
So
Another thing that I wanted to get into was like just relationships that you have with people, because you're in an industry now that is, it's like a hit or miss. I've heard people talk about it in that sense, where like you'll meet amazing people, but then you'll meet not so amazing people because they're just too busy in their shit to be amazing. So how do you really determine, because I know even with like friends from school, dude, they wanted to be in your circle because they thought you'd be famous. You know what I mean? So like how do you deal with that, honestly? Like it's just like something that I wonder, to be honest.
I guess I never really saw it that way. You know what I mean? I just kind of saw it as like, I aside from Spotify, like, yeah, I guess Trap Nation, it was awesome, but it's just a YouTube channel. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make you famous. I just felt like
Mm-hmm.
totally like normal, like nothing had changed at all because it didn't. And I think that people thought it was cool, but people I hadn't talked to in a while, were like trying to talk to me again or be friends. And only after I did something cool and I was, obviously like that's shady. I don't, want to like be friends with people who are only nice to you when you're successful. But that's kind of why I like kept to myself. And I wasn't really paying attention too much to that.
Yeah.
Like people who were like pretending to be my friend, like whatever, because ultimately at the end of the day, like, I only ended up hanging out with like you and Anna and Allie and
Yeah.
but really I don't know, it was a normal experience for me. I guess I just didn't see it the way that like other people saw it, which is definitely interesting, but I just want people to know really that it's possible, and it's just keep working at it. It took me like a year to get that after I bought Ableton and learned how to use the software. You just keep going at it, you can do it. It could happen.
Yeah. Also, what about like, I've heard Allison Wonderland talk about how women are really not as taken seriously in the industry, and I think obviously now there's more women, so, and then people love girl DJs, like it's like a thing. I feel like the energy, it just switches it up, and like a lot of people appreciate it.
There's a wave of women,
Yeah.
coming and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But sorry, the voice like didn't come right away, but yeah, there's definitely a wave, and I think that's really exciting for you. But do you feel like, because even at the hub and places where it was, on campus, it was mostly men that were DJing, and so how have you kind of like, how has that impacted you, and like has it helped you in ways, has it been negative in other ways? I know we just talked about something of this nature.
I think that DJing the bars at the University of Illinois was definitely just, in my opinion, a learning experience for me, because I knew exactly what I was doing when I signed up to audition. I knew that Champaign, Illinois was the best place for me to learn, because if I messed up, however many people are watching this channel, if you're not from Chicago and you know what Champaign, Illinois is, then, you know, I'm wrong. But really, I knew it wouldn't matter. And it's a good place to learn. And I knew I would be good at it too. You know, I wasn't just, you know, doing a terrible job.
Yeah, good.
Just, I think initially it was just kind of hard to gain anyone's respect at all. And I sometimes got vibes that I wasn't being taken seriously. I just think it's important for men to know that women have an intuition. And even if we're standing there and playing dumb, we know exactly, you know, what you're doing, thinking, the vibe you're giving off. Like, you're not fooling us. So everything that you say I take seriously, and like I remember it. So it makes you appreciate more the people who were always nice to you and always supporting of you. I just try not to think too much about anyone, you know what I mean, who's been negative. It kind of opens your awareness, and it allows you to know what to expect and what to stay away from. And it just teaches you how to act, really.
Mm-hmm. It's cool that you had that experience. I was thinking about it. I was there at your first audition at Lion. I remember
It
I
was
had
bad. I didn't even know how to DJ, and I was like at a DJ audition, and I was like, I'm just gonna learn out there.
no, dude, I remember I had a final, I'm pretty sure midterm the next day in lab, my least favorite class ever. But yeah, so I remember though thinking like, dude, like I'm gonna be at Kendra's concert later on in life and be like, I was there at her first audition, so I'm fucking going.
I was like absolutely terrified during that audition, but it's important. Oh my goodness, because of like I had no idea what I was doing. I bought that board like 2 weeks prior, you know, and I was like, trying to figure it out on my own. But then I met Alex Heike, who like he really wanted to learn how to produce music, and I wanted to learn how to DJ. So, you know, we just became really good friends, and he taught me how to DJ really well. And by the end of the year, we were opening up for Little Yachty together. It was
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
And now you're living together.
Yeah.
Just like magical, I swear. He was there that night that you were DJing, and I remember him being super helpful. Like out of all the people, he was very
Oh yeah, he was like looking at my computer because he knew something was up.
really.
Everyone, because everyone was he was just looking. He was like, you know, those waveforms look a little small. Yeah, like I don't know. He just like knew like I didn't know what I was doing. Like,
Wow.
and he didn't say anything. But then after he like messaged me, you know, and like he was like, if you want to learn, and he really did teach me, you know. At first I got this vibe like, oh, you know what I mean? Is this guy gonna like hit on me? I didn't want it to be like that. And like it totally wasn't. It was just like, well, let's learn, you know, how to DJ. Like come to Lion and like I'll throw you on the spot. And that's how I learned, you know, like being thrown on the spot, but having someone there who I knew was gonna like, you know, run into the booth if I do something wrong. And so now I'm like totally able to do it all by myself thanks to him.
No, and you're so grateful, and that's what's important is like if you are good at something, to just help other people, because like it will come back. Like you said, he wanted to learn how to produce, you wanted to learn how to DJ, you work together, you opened up for Lil Yachty, and things are happening. It's like that stuff would have never happened if he sat there with his ego and was like, I don't want this girl to get better than me. And then he wouldn't have had any of the opportunities he's had, and vice versa. You wouldn't have had the opportunities you've had, because that's what it is like just team effort is always better, in my opinion. Like I think it's important to do your own thing for sure, and like have your own goals and morals and all of that in mind, but if there's an opportunity to work with someone else, why the fuck wouldn't you? Like that's why I love this, is because it gives me an opportunity to have my ideas and like know what I'm going into it with, but also to just bring in a whole new fucking person to like share their wisdom, because that's so much better than me sitting here talking about music when I know nothing about it except for like dancing to it, you know? Like,
So I think it's important to like have time, you know, in the beginning when you're learning how to produce, you know, where you're alone and you like learn your own style, you learn your own craft. But eventually, you know, you want to make songs that people like, and your family members are going to get really annoyed if you continuously ask them, is this good? Is this good? Is this good? You know,
yeah.
you're not going to believe them anyway because they're family, you know? So it's just like having another person who's super into music and is able to say like, yeah, that's good, or like, why don't you try to make something a little bit more mainstream? You know what I mean? Not so trappy, because that's not going to be played, you know, on
Mm-hmm.
I radio.
For
Which,
sure.
too, I mean, at the end of the day, aren't like I said, we're all trying to make money,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to think of it like that too. And I think like just getting that different perspective, you know, when you're like focused on your creativity, but then you have someone looking from the outside in, they're just like, well, yeah, but you know, let's like focus on one thing, you know, but also two
Mm-hmm.
different opportunities. So I think it's important. And like, that's why I really like the whole teamwork aspect of it, because it also takes a lot of pressure off when you know that someone else is like, okay, yeah, like this is going to work, or this is good too. So,
No, for sure. I even just the little like your sister telling you not to delete the track, like
yeah.
you had to leave it, none of this it would have happened. So like I don't know. I just think having other
Just because of me and like just myself being self-conscious, you know, like
Mhm.
I don't want to, you know, make a weird song and put it out there just
Yeah.
because it's good. That's your like initial mindset going into it, or at least it was with me. But it was overcoming that. There are some people out there who are just so bold, they don't care, and you know, I really admire that. And I think like that's one of the things that I definitely want to work on, like with myself, is just, you know, being more out there, because I feel like for such a long time I've been, you know, like I said, just dealing with some other stuff and also focusing on like my creativity and figuring out what I'm doing. But now that I feel more confident in it, and I'm going to school in the fall, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
I just feel like I have more confidence and I know what I'm talking about, as opposed to someone, you know, who's self-taught and, you know, they really don't know what they're talking about. So I'm really excited to get that piece of paper and go through formal training and learn what I want to do, because I also think it's important for girls like to be self-sufficient and not have to get anything from anybody. If you can make a song start to finish by yourself and not have to send it out to anyone at all, in, you know, an industry that is primarily dominated by males, so you are working with mostly males when you get referrals, you should try to do everything yourself, but definitely like, you know, work with other people. Don't
Yeah.
let that,
Not rely on them.
exactly, it's just don't rely on other people, or else you're constantly going to find yourself in situations where you feel like you're being mistreated in a way
Hmm.
when you need something from someone.
Yeah. And we were talking about this, how it feels like as a woman, especially, even if it is like 100% quote unquote equal and like you're treated with the respect and like the seriousness, I feel like just being a woman and like having a woman's body and all of that, I feel like even just that alone gives you that extra hurdle to jump over whenever you're working with guys. I really do.
Yeah, I definitely just wish that some people, you know what I mean, wouldn't abuse certain positions of power. Just because, like I said, you know, with 3% of music producers being female, most of the industry is male, and most of the people you interact with are male. And just being a female, sometimes in the back of your mind, it's always just kind of ringing like, you know, is this person only talking to me because, you know, of like my looks, or, you know what I mean, because I'm a girl, like just things kind of like that.
Yeah.
And you just never really know if anything's like legit. And so I just think for females, it's important to know, like, don't take shortcuts. Like, do whatever you got to do to become self-sufficient in the music industry, you know?
No, that's really good advice. I think a lot of people don't even want to talk about that, because especially with music and EDM specifically, it's a very positive vibe, and it's hard to understand that there's people in that industry too that don't always have your best interest in mind. They just don't.
Yeah, just look out for yourself. I mean, like at the end of the day, everyone's out for themselves. You're gonna be the only person who like will 1000% look out for you completely. And so you just need to be aware of like who you're dealing with. And I guess like the only thing that we can really do to like change any sort of issues regarding that is just talk about it, have open discussions about it and let people know what is appropriate and what's not.
For sure. So you were mentioning school. I want to kind of dive into that a little bit more, because I always found it crazy that you were going into molecular and cellular biology, and you were like, I'm going to go through all this hardship. And dude, all the classes are just wild. I'm sure people who have experienced it know. But it was always just like, holy shit, you're going through all of this to, technically not use it after. But then now you're going to school again at Icon Collective, right? And guys, nightmare, slander, draws. The thing is, I love especially nightmare and slander. I just like see them live a lot, and just so amazing. And it's just cool that you're gonna be just going to school at the same place as they are. Can you tell us more about the school, because I know you have said there's a lot of perks too.
Yeah. I'm just really excited because essentially I'm working off of Ableton Live, which is my digital audio workspace. And they kind of specialize in Ableton, and they also teach you, everything that you need to know about how to make music and just music theory. And eventually, we start to record. You really get to interact with the business side of things as well as the vocalist department, and then there are the music producers there too, and it all kind of gets intertwined. And they have really awesome studios. They just built a completely new location in California, and I'm really excited to just be able to go there and essentially get all my questions answered that I've needed to get help for from other people. So it's essentially just going to be like fine tuning all of the knowledge that I already have. And after that, what's cool about it though is you get to use their studios for the rest of your life. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I feel like now you're gonna have so much more knowledge on like you were saying the other day, how to do things as opposed to just doing them. Because it's crazy that you learned how to do this shit though, like self-taught. I don't know. I'm starting to get really fed up with just editing like little snippets of videos. So I couldn't imagine. But I think it's gonna be cool that now, yeah, you're gonna be like engineering it and like actually know how to do it.
Definitely. And it's like hopefully too, I can one thing that I've been wanting to do that I haven't really talked about yet is getting more involved in the hip hop industry. I really, really love hip hop. Like I grew up listening to like Drake, YG, just like that new bounce type of like hip hop. And I'm like totally a fan of like Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, Baby, and I just really want to see if there's a way to maybe get involved in that realm in terms of music production. And I have a lot of hip hop beats, so it's just something that I'm going to be doing in the near future.
That's really exciting, because once you start like meshing different genres together, that's my favorite. Even at a show, when they start playing reggae, I'm like, holy fuck, like this is my time to shine. I just love like just intertwining all kinds of music, but hip hop and EDM especially are just like really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes I just find like a lot of like hip hop elements, creeping themselves into my EDM beats, or like I'll just totally all of a sudden add some like distorted 808, that sounds like a baby song in a house track, but it sounds good.
Yeah.
It's just a process of being experimental and messing around with it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah,
Well, yeah, it's just like about not being afraid to like mix up different sounds because you never know. It could sound amazing. Like,
exactly.
okay, so clearly to be this motivated and to not give a fuck about what society thinks, you have to have had like inspirations when it comes to like motivation and that kind of thing. I know we talked about Tony Robbins, so I want to hear you talk about it because not that many people our age really are talking about him for some reason. I watched the documentary a while ago and I just feel like you might have a lot to say that's really good. So,
Yeah. I don't know. I like sometimes I'll listen to, Tony Robbins videos in the morning if I'm like,
mhm,
after like a workout or something, because it definitely just helps your mind, think more positively. I guess that's just kind of like my idea of it. I
mhm,
feel like it's important to dedicate at least 30 minutes of your day to filling your head with positivity, regardless of whether or not you think it's stupid,
mhm,
just do it. Because ultimately, you're activating your subconscious mind to, think differently. And if you do it right in the morning, it's going to impact like how you're thinking throughout the day, and you can start a routine for yourself, and you might actually get excited to wake up and start listening to the videos that you once never thought that you'd listen to. Like
mhm,
sometimes I'll just go on YouTube and type in morning motivation, and I'll find, like really good videos and channels that I'll then go and like follow or subscribe to, because they just really, really help with my mood.
mhm.
So I don't know, it works for me.
No, it's really good. I think because a lot of people should like sit in the mirror and talk to themselves positively all day, but like you just won't have the time, and sometimes it just doesn't feel right. You're like, okay, I don't feel like sitting here and like talking to myself positively. However, when you have like a video or some kind of other thing kind of like igniting that and putting it in your brain, it's kind of like as if you're saying it to yourself, but it's someone else. And because we don't hear it enough, I feel like that's what can train your brain then to actually think these thoughts and kind of mask those negative thoughts that you have heard so many times, and like all those negative things you've heard from other people who technically, a lot of times we get advice from people who aren't living the life we want, right? Like people who don't seem happy and don't seem like they're living the life they want, but they're giving advice because they're giving advice based on like, oh, I want what's best for you, so here's what I'm giving you. However, when you listen to Tony Robbins and people who are living their quote unquote best life, then you're getting advice based on people who are actually doing those things that you want to do. And then that's how it gets into your brain is like, holy shit, it's possible.
Um, yeah, I think that ultimately what people should do is just do your best to show others what you want to do, and then you can get to the point where you're like Tony Robbins,
Mm-hmm.
and you have like 5 clients a year that pay you millions of dollars, and you run a giant corporation. You know what I mean? Like he has that fuck you money where he can just do whatever he
Yeah.
wants. And so I don't know, I just, I look up to that, not the money aspect of it, but just like the fact where he does put his money where his mouth is. Ultimately, he is, successful. He is proof that it can be done, as are other people. There are plenty of people out there who are success stories. Steve Jobs,
For sure.
you know
Yeah.
everyone.
It's amazing.
So
The other day we talked about how nowadays it's not just about like graduating from college, it's about like everything you create after. Like, what do you mean by that?
oh yeah, I guess really when it comes down to college, what I think of is the fact that it's essentially expected of us. I mean, everyone really does go to college. I mean, I'm looking at it from the perspective of someone who was on the pre-med route
Yeah.
and, was looking at the future, what I would have to do in order to get into medical school, and realizing and coming to the conclusion that everyone, in my general spectrum goes to college, and there's a lot of competition to get into medical school. It's hard, and I think really what it comes down to, depending on what you want to do, it depends if you want to, go on to do something after college and use that degree, then make sure you're maximizing your time while you're in school. I'm going to school in the fall, and I wish that I knew what I wanted to do, when I went to U of I, as badly as I know what I want to do now, because I would have been able to make the most of that 4-year degree instead of kind of being hesitant, do I really want to be a doctor? And it definitely wasn't a waste of time because I met so many awesome people, did so many cool things, but it was kind of a waste of a degree, because it's not something that I really use. So I think for people watching this, what I would say is just, it's important to go to college, yes. And if you're going to go to college, make sure that what you're doing is what you want to do and don't be afraid to change your major. But for people who either aren't going to go to college or they want to pursue something else, then do it. And, start while you're young. Start even if you don't feel like you can do it, make an Instagram account. Start trying to build something. Because if you just do a little bit every single day, you'll be able to do something out of that and, eventually turn it into a business for yourself. And so I think that really people just need to figure out what they want.
For sure.
Because it's so confusing. Yeah, exactly. If you're passionate about it, then you're not going to have a worry in the world. You're just going to be focused on that. So if you're thinking about other things, then just try to reevaluate, what you're doing.
For sure. And another thing is if you do go to college and you feel like whatever job you got after is just not really that great, that's another, thing that you could do is have something on the side, start building whatever it is that you're passionate about on the side. And then you could, if you're not making enough or feeling this sense of wholeness from that one job you got after college or with that degree, then you can have something that kind of helps with that on the side, either money wise or passion wise, whatever it is. Maybe you want a small little shirt business on the side. It doesn't matter if that's going to be your $1 million thing, but it's if you really believe in it and you think it's going to make you happy, then it's worth putting your effort towards that too, in my opinion.
Completely. And yeah, I think that there's just a lot of things that people could do in their, free time in order to help expand their horizons. You know what I mean? Just even investing little amounts of money. That's a thing. And, kids our age could be doing that. But we're not necessarily taught about these things. I just did taxes for the first time, it's crazy. I'm talking to my, CPA, just asking these questions. I have no idea what's going on. But we're learning. It's all part of the process.
For sure. It's crazy how little we know about adult things. It's it makes me embarrassed, talking to adults nowadays because I'm bro, I don't know any of the stuff you're talking about. But I know other stuff.
No, definitely. I feel like there's a huge, just between the traditionalist generation and then, you have the millennials and then Gen Z. And I'm just thinking about, how different, our cultures are, really, how things have shifted. And I think back to the whole college thing, that was the norm, back for the traditionalists. It was best that you go to college because it secured a really awesome job. But it was also much cheaper to buy real estate back then too.
You know how much I struggle with having to or wanting to make others happy and my family and everybody, and I know you've gone through a lot with your family, but is there some advice that you would give about just doing your thing and then believing so much in what you're doing that it really doesn't faze you if people don't think you'll succeed or if people are kind of hesitant or doubtful? I know people in your family have been supportive, but just overall, if anyone hasn't or whatever you want.
No, ultimately I think that what it comes down to is, yes, it's really important to have supportive people around you. And I have had a lot of support. But ultimately it's really hard initially to get past that hurdle where it's just when I first started making music, I thought my stuff was awesome, but it was just, terrible. And I think that eventually, things pick up and they change. And really, it's just important to make sure that you surround yourself with supportive people and make sure that everything that you do is just done out of love, you know, because ultimately that's really just what it comes down to. Like what you're making and putting out to the world, like it's music, you know, it's spiritual, it's an emotional thing. And so if you're not totally like at peace with yourself, and that's going to be impacted by the people around you, then you need to make sure that you find peace for yourself so that you can, you know, become grounded and, you know, put music out. Because I do believe like in, you know, the fact that like if you're in a place maybe that's not like as stable for you, that it's going to show, you know, in what you're making.
I agree 1,000%.
When I first started, I swear, there was just this little voice in my head, sounded just like me. And it just told me that like I was gonna, you know, like be just, it wasn't gonna work. It essentially told me that like this sucks, you know, like you're terrible. And I just remember having to tell myself every single day, like, just shut up, you know, and like I just kept on, and then eventually it stopped. But like I swear there was this little voice in my head every day whenever I would play anything that I made that would just tell me that I was terrible. But I just, you know, you have to stop listening to it.
Oh yeah. I was going to say, like, one, you've given a lot of advice, which is great, but what's like something that keeps you moving forward that you think like other musicians need to hear, people who are kind of like stuck in a rut? I think
If
that's
you're
it.
stuck in a rut, I've just been in such a rut so many times in my life. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness. Really, I think that the one thing that you can do is if you're stuck in a rut, try your best to just do one thing for yourself a day. Um, there was one point in my life I remember where I just like couldn't even get out of bed in the morning. It was so hard to just like get out of bed. And what I did was every morning when I woke up, I just remember I told myself to just do it. Like I don't know how to describe it. I would just count down from 3 and I would just get up, and it worked. And eventually I just kept getting up, and you can just look things up and just try new things, but ultimately you have to want to get out of the rut in order for anything to work. You might think that you want it, but you have to, I think a lot of the times people want to want it, but they don't want it. They're
That's
more
great.
complacent in their misery
Yeah.
than wanting to get out of it. So when you get to the point where you've been so fed up with being in a rut, then these things will work for you. But if you're stuck in a rut and you're not wanting to get out of it, then you're the only person who can help yourself, you know?
Mm-hmm. Dude, that's actually, that hit home because for me, it was always like that. It was like my default mechanism was just to be sad. Like I just remember texting my friends even being like, I'm sad today. And it was like almost, I'm not trying to dumb down or like make anything, even just my own depression and anxiety feel any less than they were. It's just, I know that at many times what I would feel is just myself kind of like stopping me from being happy because I would choose to think these negative thoughts and I would choose to think I wasn't good enough. And like, obviously, you don't just wake up one day and think you're amazing, but like you said, it's one step at a time, getting yourself up. Maybe that's your first step for like a week. Like, I'm going to get myself out of bed today. And even if whatever you do after has nothing to do with like your greatness or like getting you to a better point, even just you getting up and like doing something with your day can be like that first step and, you know, ignite like something amazing.
One thing too, it's kind of weird, but I've done it before. I like will listen to sleep talk down meditations where they go on for like 2 hours. And if you have like AirPods or something, while you're sleeping, you'll just be hearing really positive things being said to you.
Wow, you need to send me this. Like a
Yeah,
specific.
you can literally find them on YouTube. It's just, what is it called? It's really just really positively training your self mind or your self mind. It's positively training your subconscious mind to think more positive thoughts, you
Mm-hmm.
know, just rewiring.
Yes.
because you're just going to be constantly hearing all night long, like, I am worthy, I am beautiful, I am smart, you know, like, not like that, but essentially.
No.
So it helps. You might wake up feeling better. You might wake up feeling exactly the same, but like, I've found a few videos that have worked for me.
Yeah, dude, that's amazing. I never even knew that existed. There is so much on YouTube. It's wild. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you like this video, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Yay! So much better.
Love you.
Love you too, dude.